Hey, what's up? I'm back again. Well, finally back with another video. What I like to talk about in this video, well, a number of things. First of all, I just couldn't ask for better weather in October. I don't think we've ever had an October that was already this cool, this far from Halloween. Okay, we've got about, let's see, it's the 19th, so less than 12 days until Halloween. And so, I don't know if you can see it, but I made yet another Halloween sun catcher. It's a spider one. And I'm excited to report that I went to Dollar General and I can now add a blonde elf mate to my elf collection. I don't know if you can see him, but he's the blonde elf. And maybe if I get the full collection, I'll show all three of them together, the blonde, the brunette, and the redhead, and perhaps the Hispanic version of one of the three, but I don't know about that. So anyway, I just want to make a quick, short video. There's just so many things I could talk about. You know, today was a good and bad day. Well, it's good because I got that elf, which I've wanted a collection for years. You know, every year, it's like you never... somebody buys them up the minute they put them out. I don't know why. And then they sell them on eBay for several times the price. But I was finally able to get a blonde one in the store. So I'm happy about that. And I'm happy about the cool, clear weather. And, you know, that we're so close to Halloween. I'm just so happy about that. I just couldn't be happier. And I wish I knew how to situate this chair so that I could be closer to the video or the camera, you know, and sit in my chair, but unfortunately I don't think it pumps up any higher. Well, what I'd like to talk about in this video, I'd like to talk about a puke scene in Rocket Power and how I really didn't watch Rocket Power. By and large, you know, it was not my favorite cartoon, and the only thing I really liked about it somewhat is that it was made by the Klasky Chupo, is it? Company that made Rugrats. That's about the only thing I really liked about Rocket Power, okay? I really hated the fact that the boys, you know, the boy characters were voiced by actual little boys, okay? They were not women pretending to be little boys. And they were not men, you know, raising the pitch of their voice with some kind of a synthesizer. You know, which really, they should explore that. You know, they should try to figure out how to get computers to synthesize a male voice into a little boy. Okay? So, you know, they were actual little boys, you know, real flesh and bone little boys who would go through the changes of puberty for obvious reasons. And as a result, they couldn't help but age up the characters to fit the voice actor, which I really hated. I mean, I really don't care about Rocket Power pretty much, but after season 1, I have absolutely no use for it whatsoever. And of course, the other thing I hate about it is how they don't have a mother. You know, it's another situation like Chucky. You know, Otto and Chucky have that in common where they started out with no mom. And as I've stated before, you know, I believe that the reason there are so many motherless cartoon characters, I believe the real reason is that women, there just aren't a whole lot of women, you know, wanting to voice cartoons, you know what I'm saying? And what few they have tend to want to voice younger female characters like Reggie, and, you know, characters that are seen more as a sex symbol, so to speak. You know, they want to voice the female lead, you know, the girlfriend of the main character. They don't want to voice some old lady or some mom that's had a bunch of kids. And why would they? You know, I don't blame them. I mean, if I were into voice acting, which I'm not, I would certainly not want to voice a woman in my age group. I mean, what's the fun in that? So, and I didn't like Rocket Power. And the other thing, of course, you know, the skin tones are a bit off-putting because Sam was the only character with a skin tone that I can somewhat relate to. You know, everybody else, for some reason, was a redhead with a tan, which doesn't make any sense. I'll have to get out my red-haired elf to show why that doesn't make any sense. But I have to dig him out of the Christmas box. So, really didn't like the show. Couldn't relate to surfing and sports because I'm about the least athletic person you've ever met. But There was one episode and one episode only of Rocket Power that I just totally loved, and it was Typhoid Sam. And you can imagine why. First of all, it was before Twister's voice changed. So, I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed it to an extent, while the boys were little, like the first maybe season 1 and maybe on into season 2. But, as they, I think, Twister's voice change was definitely the turning point by which I would never again like Rocket Power. If I liked it before, I certainly wasn't going to like it anymore after that. And, you can imagine, the show began in 99, and by that point I was 16, and so you can imagine why, at the time, as much as I wanted to be a boy, you can imagine why it made me dysphoric, when, Reggie was a tomboy, but she certainly wasn't a boy, you know what I'm saying? It was like a show that flat out said, that being a tomboy doesn't make you a boy. And at the time, I really hated that mentality. And to add insult to injury, while they would never talk about a female character getting her period, they had an entire episode, about a male character going through the voice change at a ridiculously young age. Well, not ridiculous, but below average age. I guess he was about 12 or so. The voice actor was probably a little bit older than that, but, what can you really do? So the one and only episode that I really liked was called Typhoid Sam, and for obvious reason, for the same reason that All's Well That Pretends Well is the best Rugrats episode that has ever existed or ever will, because it dealt with being sick. It dealt with common colds and similar illnesses and getting sick, which is one of my favorite subject matters in the world. And, the only Jimmy Neutron episode that I really liked was called Journey to the Center of Carl, and it's all about, the sick patch. So, I like the few cartoons where they clearly had a cold. I don't know, before I had such a severe poop fetish, I guess snot could somewhat do it for me. I don't know. And vomiting, but it's just my favorite episode, and it just the only episode that just really made me happy. It's called Typhoid Sam. And, the thing I like best about it is, of course, I love to see a villain get their comeuppance, whether it's male or female. And Lars was kind of the antagonist, so to speak. And so he was like picking on Twister, back when he was a sweet little boy with a high voice, picking on him. And then he gets his comeuppance in the end, wherein he's vomiting. And unfortunately, unlike Rugrats, they don't get graphic with it. Like, they don't show the vomit and everything they've eaten, like they did in Chucky Loses His Glasses. But, they still have them vomiting. And I just wish there had been more episodes like that. In Hey Arnold, in Rugrats, in Rocket Power, in all of them. I wish there had been more episodes. And, my favorite Thornberrys episode was, I think, called Tamper-Proof Seal. And basically, Debbie has a cold, and Donnie gets it from her, and the only thing that would make it better is, of course, if Eliza had it too. But I don't know, I just always had this thrill about seeing cartoon characters with colds, because it just always bothered me that as much as I wanted to be a superhero, which, tied in with the fact that I wanted to be male, so to speak, and that's what was really behind me wanting to be male, was this wish to be a superhero. And it's like, how heroic can you really be as a female? You know what I'm saying? You can't really be a hero, if you're female. And, so that always messed with my head. I wanted to be the superhero. And, that's why I wanted testosterone. But no matter, however heroic I might feel or think of myself as being, every year it's like I worry about getting colds. And I get an average of maybe one cold per year, but at the time, when these shows were popular, I was getting more than that. So it really bothered me, that these cartoon characters, simply because they weren't real, they could go through every episode without ever having a cold if the writers created them that way. You know what I'm saying? I always wish the characters on As Told by Ginger would have caught colds, specifically the younger boys, because to me, that would be a lot more realistic. When I think of little boys, I think of people who catch colds all the time. More colds than any other type of human, because they're nasty. and weak and immature. And so, it just makes me so mad, that there were never enough episodes like that. And so when there was such an episode, when you had colds and vomiting and things like that, however discreet they may have been about it, and however silly it may have been, considering that it was done in a cartoon way and not a more realistic way. You know what I'm saying? They always had to have some silliness about it, like the Fiji flu, or you know what I'm saying. It's like it couldn't just be an ordinary common cold. Always had to be something like a sick patch in Jimmy Neutron causing these things to happen. But, however much silliness there was surrounding it, and however unrealistic, and however seldomly they got sick, I really enjoyed those episodes where they did.